Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Chrissy Hawkins. In a world where everybody always asks why, I'm here to ask, why not? I'll be breaking down the mindsets of guests as well as my own in a bid to find out what makes people say, why not? Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Chrissy Hawkins. I'm a fitness coach and part-time equestrian. My aim with Why Not is to help people overcome mindset issues they may have by relating my own experience and what I've learned. Also, bringing on guests to relay their experience too. Hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome back to the Why Not podcast. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are listening to it. Have I perfected my radio voice? I think I'm getting there. Yeah, no, I'm just ripping the piss there. I wanted to see how cheesy I could make it. And apparently the answer is very. So I've tested a microphone again this week because, as if you listened to last week's one, you hear my original plan never actually happened because it didn't record, or for some reason it didn't pick up. But it seems to be, I record these on a Wednesday, just in case anyone was wanting some inside info into the workings of Why Not. But Wednesday is my bad day for technology because today I did an Instagram live, and when I went to save it, Instagram froze and it disappeared into the ether. So that was fun and stressful and annoying. And you think I'd learn and I wouldn't decide to record my podcast on the same day, but I like to record on a Wednesday, and I shall therefore record on a Wednesday. Now that I have finished my pointless and uninteresting rant, maybe it is fun for you, I don't know. But today's podcast idea, my plan, is going to discuss how, while sometimes we feel like we're behind on life, do not worry, you are still right on track. And that's what I want to call it, I think. Or something to that effect. But anyway, the reason I came up with this idea is because of the fact that it kind of came to me while running. Just dropping in there casually that I run for fun. I don't run for fun. I run because I'm doing a challenge, but I do all the suffering, so you don't have. But anyway, I passed someone that I went to school with and who would have been in my year, and I'm out for my run on my own. And she was pushing a baby in a pram. And I was kind of thinking, that's mad. Like 10 years ago, we were in school together, finishing school, and here we are 10 years later, and we're in complete different stage of life in a sense. So she's there with her child, and I'm sure loving life and everything. And I am out for a run, not so much loving life, but loving the fact that I have a child. And I think that kind of comes up a little bit now, or it's a little bit more, I think it comes up a bit more now, but it seems like everyone in my age. I used to joke when I turned 25, me and my college friends, that we were having our quarter life crisis, because it was your midlife crisis in your 50s or something. But I genuinely think I am now at the actual age of quarter life crisis. So this year I'm going to turn 30. And a lot of people in my year or that I went to school with are either turned 30, already 30, or will be 30 this year. So much like myself. But when we were 25, most of us were kind of maybe finishing college, doing little bits here and there. But the jump between 25 and 30 is crazy. So you could be convinced to have a quarter life crisis at this stage if you're seeing your friends getting married, getting engaged, buying houses and having children, and you're there like, what? I'm still living at home. Now, thankfully, I'm not living at home, but no offense to anyone is, by the way, just a statement. But it's funny to see how things have changed. So say, for instance, when I was 25, it was around that age that the first couple I knew who wanted to have children decided to plan to have their first child. So it wasn't an accident. They actively went out and had the child. Had the child? Yeah. Whatever way you say it. Whereas up until then, the majority of people I knew who may have already had children didn't plan it. So it was that crossover from having kids by accident to firstly actively wanting to have a child. And I remember at the time I lived in Swords and I had a conversation with my housemate, and the two of us were like, fuck, they like actually want to have a kid like that. This is like their plan. Like they didn't do this by accident. Now the couple had been together about 10 years at the time, but it was such like a mind-blowing thing. And here I am 5 years later, and it seems to be every second week I'm finding out someone else I know is pregnant, or someone else gets engaged, or none of them are getting married now because of COVID. So at least that stops that one. Now I say that as a joke. Anyone whose weddings got postponed because of COVID, I'm sorry. And you will make it there. And the main thing to remember is that you will get there and you guys love each other, and that's why you're getting married. But it's just crazy seeing all the other stuff, like, because obviously COVID's not stopping children being born, or people, like I've seen people getting keys to houses and buying their own places and getting a mortgage, and other people I know are planning for that. And it's just crazy to think that like 5 years ago, most of us, our life revolved around nights out and Netflix. I don't know. Still revolve around Netflix because, you know, I have to be inside a lot. But it's just mad, like, how things change. And that's why I was saying, like, it's how you can end up with this, like, quarter life crisis idea where, am I falling behind? Should I be doing this now? Is like, why am I not engaged? Why why hasn't my partner proposed? Why am I still single? This is crazy. Like, I'm not on time. I'm behind the curve. But really, you're not, because there is no set time of when you're supposed to do anything. And I think we forget that because people start to do it all around the same time, which is kind of, I suppose, in a sense, it was definitely a thing where our parents' generation, you know, you get to your 30s, you get married, you settle down, you have kids. And I think our generation, maybe I would have thought was maybe slightly different. I suppose none of us can afford houses, really. Well, to be fair, some people can. But like, you would kind of, some people kind of put their career first, wait a little bit longer. I don't know, like my parents were in their 30s when they had me. I was the eldest, but maybe other people's parents were younger and they're actually older now, getting like having children and planning that part of their life. But for me, I feel like, in a sense, that I thought it, not in the sense, but I feel like it can be easy to get caught up in what everyone else is doing. And then you go, like, it makes you wonder where you are in life. And the thing is, there's plenty of people, you know, who are gone back to college to do something, or they're doing night courses, or they're just like working in their job or doing their own thing. But obviously, stuff like that doesn't get posted as much on social media, you know. You'll always get stuff for the end of degrees and all, but you won't know they've been working on it for so long. Whereas someone gets engaged or someone has a baby announcement, you know, it's straight away all over the place. Like, look at this, woo! Because normally females drive it. Not gonna lie, it is us. And it's kind of funny because, like, as someone, like, I don't want children, and I think people find that very shocking every time I say that, because, like, it's like the linear progression. You get a job, you get with someone, you get married, you have kids, but some people don't want that. And it's kind of funny when you see and hear another one or two people kind of going, I'm pregnant. I'm like, oh, I feel a bit left out. It's really weird. FOMO for something I don't even want. I don't want to be pregnant. That sounds awful. And I don't want to have to deal with a child growing up. I can't just about deal with myself and Peter and the guinea pigs. So it's just funny how, when so much of that is happening around you, how you can almost get sucked into it. And you hear people talking about, like, planning to have children. I had a friend talk to me about it today, and I was like, that's weird. We're still kids. We're not old enough to have kids. No. I don't know. That could just be me. maybe other people are settling down and finding that okay. But yeah, I just think there is that definitely a pressure as well, for you to say that, like, and I'm very open about saying I don't like kids, or I don't like kids. Sorry, I'm not a big fan of them, to be honest. I like pictures of them because I don't have to deal with them. I will make a class auntie because I can load them with sugar and give them back to their owner. I don't have to deal with all the bad parts. But yeah, I find that people tend to react really funny when you say you don't want kids, because it's like, well, what else are you supposed to do with your life? It's like, I don't know, make a really like successful business and then retire at 50 and not have to pay for all the stuff. And also, like, serial killers are someone's children. So I don't want to be responsible for something like that. That's just a side note and a joke. Or is it? It's a joke. Or is it? But yeah, I think it's funny, like, how it's almost expected, like that's what you need or have to do to feel fulfilled, I think. But it's not for everybody. Just like getting married, getting engaged, married, kids by 35 isn't for everybody either. Like, some people would have had kids earlier, and I know, as I said, a lot of them were probably by accident. But sometimes they go on to have more kids and they could have their whole family life settled down by the time they're 30. And that works for them too. Like, there's no, I'm not judging, that's the way they want to do it. Other people go traveling and come back and then settle down, or some people just, like, some people go get a gaff, do their own thing. They don't need to be like tied down. They don't need to be, like, again, that's what I'm saying, like, you don't need to be in a relationship to be happy either. Like, people assume that's what you do after a certain point, but again, it's not necessary. If you want to be in one, yeah, great. But you see so many people who, like, this is the way I think about it. I've noticed, or say, for instance, if you're under 30 and you're with someone long term, there's nothing thought about it. If you're over 30 and you're with someone 2 years or so, it's like, when you getting married, because better get a move on, kind of thing. You're running out of time if you're a girl, biological clock and all that. And if you're a dude, well, you've had your bachelor time, it's time to settle down. And it's just crazy how you could have someone who's 5 years with someone in their 20s, and it won't even be thought of. Like, it'll just be like, oh, yeah, whatever, they're together. Sure, they're too young anyway. Which is another really funny thing. Like, people can get married when they're young and live their whole lives together. People can be with someone they're young and grow out of them, go in different directions. I think this pressure to settle down after a certain point makes people get into relationships that they wouldn't have originally gotten into, or stayed in a relationship that they wouldn't originally stayed in. And for the case of, well, it's time I settled down, I got married, and I had the children and stuff like that. So, you know what, you'll do. You were enough. I get on all right with you. I don't have to, maybe I do have to worry. But I wonder if that could be the reason there's such a high instance of divorce now, because people end up getting with people just for the sake of it. And then it turns out that they're not actually compatible. So it's interesting to think of it that way. Like, if society's norms are forcing you into making these decisions, sometimes it's better to be a rebel, maybe. I don't know. Just a thought. I don't know. To be honest, I've never been married. I have no children. I'm not planning on having children. But I'm sure in the next 2 years, it'll probably start on me too. Because I live with Peter, we've been together a while. It's only a matter of time, I think. I don't know, to be honest. It could be that. Hint, hint, Peter. Drop the knee. I'm joking. Am I? I am. Am I? Yeah, so I don't know, I just felt like it was something that we need to address more and think about. Just because this is what your generation did, or just because this is what X, Y, and Z from your year, or this, that, and the other did, doesn't mean you have to do it, and you don't have to do it in the exact same sequence. So I think like, for example, a lot of people I'm seeing my year are focused on my age, or say, are focused on getting a house first before they get married, whereas before you would have gotten married and then moved in together. And I know some of your more religious types, maybe people more religious, will probably think that that is the wrong way to go about it. But personally, for me, I think it's the best way, in a sense, because you don't really know someone until you live with them. So if you're committing to paying for half a house with someone, or committing to having a house and building a life with someone, I think you should probably live with them first to see if that's bearable. Because if you're going into it blind, as I would say, like, you can be on holidays and you'll see certain tendencies, but it's a big difference in being with them, not necessarily being with them 24/7, but living with someone. So I think in my case, in my humble opinion, not case, experience, in my experience too, because I'm not married, I'm living in sin. But I just think the other way around makes sense. Like, you should live with someone before you get married. And marriage is a big commitment. And I think, in a sense, it shouldn't be taken lightly, not in a religion sense or anything, but mostly because, like, I know some people just get married as a tax incentive and stuff like that, but I think it's that little step up, in a sense of, yeah, you're committed to someone, but if you get married, you're really saying, like, here, this is us. And I think that's something that shouldn't be taken lightly and shouldn't be just done because you're 32 and you're coming close to not being able to have kids again. It's just, again, my opinion, just a thought. I know people who have never gotten married, and if they don't want to get married either, totally cool, nothing wrong with that. I know people who all they want to do is get married, which is great as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like you should make sure, if you're going for that commitment, because divorce is messy from what I've heard. Again, not being witness to it, but do you really want to put yourself through that? Like, just because you wanted it on the record that you signed a piece of paper to commit. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is, I see no issue with a couple staying together for 20 years, having children, having a house together and all that, and never getting married, over a couple who rush into marriage to have kids to get divorced because they realise, having rushed it all in, that they're not compatible and they don't work together. And that can become, like, that can cause a lot of emotional trauma for both parties involved and children. And sometimes it's better to avoid that altogether, if it's something that you're not sure you want. Like, again, if you're together after 20 years and you decide, hey, we'll go get married, sure, why not? Like, absolutely brilliant too. So, like, that's, again, it's me bringing on the whole norms. Like, you don't have to get married, buy a house, have children. You can buy a house, have children, get married. You can buy a house, get married. You can get married, buy a house, have children. You cannot have children. Any of those options are really, really up to you. As I said, I just feel like there's so much pressure for everyone to do it by a certain time and a certain age, and you don't even have to be with someone to have a child, Like, more power to those women who go out and go to sperm banks and have their child that way. Like, that is impressive. Like, you know what I mean? I think that is, like, true testament. You want kids? Don't need the lad? Brilliant. Like, honest God, that is really going off in your own way and going and getting what you want. I think that's the best thing about it. You're getting what you want. And yeah, sorry, you might think it's weird, but how many single parents are out there because of being with the wrong person and it turning into and ended up not working out, so they end up as single parents anyway. So who's to say you can't go out and decide to be a single parent? More power to you, as I said. So I think in summary, if you see a lot of people your age are going in a certain direction and you feel like you're being left behind, I think you need to first off look at it and go to and talk to yourself about it and figure out, one, is that what I want? Or do I just have a little bit of FOMO? It's like everyone's out on a night out and you're at home sick and you feel left out because you couldn't go. Like, are you kind of like, oh, how come I'm not having a baby shower? How come I'm not this? It's like, but like, do you really want to have a kid? Because you do realize after 9 months you have to deal with a child for the rest of its life. It's not 18 years. My parents are still stuck listening to me and I'm 29. So just remember that. They only kind of bear with me now because I don't live with them. So like, ooh, there might be some exciting information or stories outside of lockdown, which there isn't. So, but think of that first. Like, if it's something you're getting worried about, then go. You have to think about first, is it something you actually want or do you just feel left out? Secondly, just because they're doing it doesn't mean you have to. It's like that whole thing, if everyone jumped off a cliff, would you do it too? And obviously if they're going to post about it on social media, I'm definitely going to do it. But I joke. The next thing as well is look at where you are. Are you working towards where you want to be? So that's a really big thing because it's very easy to look at someone who's successful in their job and be like, oh, I want that. Like, I'm the same age as them. How come I'm not there? How can I not be there? So it's very easy to, if you're looking at people who you think are successful and compare yourself to them and be like, I'm like the same age as them. How come I'm not there? How come I'm not doing this? And it could be the difference between you're currently in school, coming into something that working towards something you really want to do, and you just have to put the groundwork in first and then you will get there. Or it could be a case that they may be earning all the money, but they might be miserable in their job and they actually hate it. And they're putting that stuff up just to make it look like they're happy about what they do. So remember that as well. And also, again, like if someone's really successful in a line of work you'd never want to do, why would you be jealous of them? Like if it's something you'd never have any interest in doing, why are you getting mad that they are doing well there? It's like they're an accountant and look how much they're doing and they're this great accountant. And I'm like, I don't like accountancy. I'm sure I'd love to earn the money, but I don't think I'd last a year in accountancy. I'd be banging my head off the wall out of boredom. Instead, I'm working in something I enjoy and I'm just putting in that groundwork day by day to build it up. And the thing is, you have to remember, any successful person, we're only seeing the end product. They were just maybe a little bit ahead of you in the years of work they were doing to get to where they were, or they were just so tenacious and they just grabbed the bull by the horns and got there. But they're like, success leaves clues. No one's ever successful by accident. So when you're comparing yourself to someone who's maybe your age and in a different part of life, and you're kind of going, why am I not there? Look at what they're doing and figure it out from there. Like, you're seeing the end product. You're not seeing the years and years of work or the months and months of late nights that they got to get there, which is very dangerous when comparison syndrome sits in. So do remember that as well when you are comparing yourself to other people. I think that is everything that I can think of right now. Hopefully, might think of something louder and re-record. But even if I did, I can no. Shut up, Chrissy. Yeah, so I think that's everything. Basically, what I did want to say, for anyone who feels like they're being left behind and they're not as far ahead as everyone that they know and see around them, remember, you were right on track. Their chapter 20, your chapter 1 or your chapter 15 are completely different. You have completely different storybooks. You may not be on the same wavelength. You may not be in the same career path. You may not want what they have. You just feel left out, that you don't have it yet, even though you don't want it. FOMO is a weird thing. Sometimes it's like crazy. Like, you want to be partying in Australia, like you see that because they have sunshine and no COVID. But I don't even like going partying. But the fact that they can, I want to do it. That's the best, I think, the best analogy I can use for, as I said, watching stuff like that. People have them doing all these things in Australia and you're jealous you can't do it, but have things you wouldn't even do if you could because you don't like it, but you're just jealous because they can. And that is what it can be like in life when people are hitting certain milestones and you may not even want to hit those milestones, but you're just jealous because everybody else is doing it. Now, that is me for today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that made sense. I think it made sense. I always say this, and when I'm editing, I feel like I make more sense when I listen over. But it's always hard to tell when you're just talking into a microphone and reading notes and hoping for the best. So, thank you again for listening. Your support is, as ever, really appreciated. If you do want to contact me at any point, you will find me on Instagram. It's Chrissy H Fitness, so CHRISSY, H for Hawkins, and Fitness. Or you will find me on TikTok as well, and it's Chrissy H Fit on TikTok. TikTok is where I act to eat it. Sometimes they make it onto my Instagram. My more informative stuff will be found on Instagram on all things fitness, mindset, and sometimes some guinea pigs and horses. But again, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you again next week. Thank you. Did my cool radio voice there again. Whoop. Thank you again for listening to Why Not. Please hit that subscribe button or leave a review. And if you have any suggestions or feedback, feel free to hit me up on social media.